On Monday, February 16th, 2026, a youth hockey arena in Pawtucket, Rhode Island became the scene of an absolute tragedy. What was supposed to be a celebration of local sports, a senior night of all things, ended in gunfire and just unimaginable violence. So let's break down exactly what we know. So picture this, the Dennis M. Lynch Arena. It's a place this community knows well, right? It's filled with families, friends, all there to cheer on their local players. But that whole atmosphere was just shattered when shots were fired, turning this familiar local rink into a deadly scene in a blink of an eye. And just look at how fast this all went down. The game starts at 2:25 p.m. Only 5 minutes later, around 2:30, shots ring out. By 2:31, just 1 minute later, it's total panic and people are scrambling to get out. It took mere moments for everything to completely change. All right, so let's take a closer look at the incident itself. I mean, how did a celebration of youth sports spiral into such chaos? Here's a really crucial point. The violence wasn't happening on the ice or in some hallway. It erupted right there in the stands where everyone was watching. Multiple gunshots just cut through the sounds of the game, sending these waves of panic through the whole crowd of parents, students, and fans. Authorities were quick to confirm one key detail. The players themselves, the ones on the ice, were physically okay. The attack was aimed at the stands, which meant spectators and families were caught right in the middle of the chaos, all of them rushing for shelter in locker rooms, running for the exits, and just taking cover wherever they possibly could. And now we have to talk about the hardest part of this story, the human toll. The immediate aftermath revealed a just devastating loss of life and a number of people with critical injuries. In their first assessment, authorities confirmed 3 fatalities right there at the scene. 3 people who just went to watch a hockey game would never get to go home. Investigators also released this critical detail. One of those 3 people who died is believed to be the shooter. Authorities say he died from what appears to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. But the tragedy didn't stop with the fatalities. 3 other victims had to be rushed to local hospitals, and all of them were listed in critical condition, literally fighting for their lives. So you have to ask, what was the motive? Well, Pawtucket Police Chief Tina Goncalves said that their working theory is that this was not a random act of violence. The investigation seems to be pointing toward a targeted family dispute, although they haven't released the exact relationship between the victims and the shooter. To really understand the terror of that afternoon, we have to listen to the voices of the people who were there. The accounts from eyewitnesses paint this horrifying picture of just absolute panic and fear. Just try to imagine the sound of this. Audio reportedly captured at least 14 shots fired, one after another, in rapid succession. 14! That sheer volume and speed sent everyone running for their lives, just trying to make sense of what was happening. This simple quote from a spectator, it really says it all. There was no time to think, no time to understand what was going on, just that primal instinct to run. People described diving under seats, flooding into the aisles, and even running into nearby businesses just to find some safety. So with that kind of chaos, how did law enforcement even begin to respond? Well, an incident of this scale immediately kicked off a massive, multi-agency investigation to secure the scene and start figuring out what happened. The Pawtucket Police Department was leading the charge, but they were definitely not alone. The fact that the FBI's Boston Division and agents from the ATF showed up really tells you how seriously this incident was being taken, from the local level all the way to the federal level. Officials were quick to get the word out and reassure the public that there was no longer an active threat. The immediate danger inside the arena was over. But for investigators, the work was really just beginning as they started the long process of interviewing witnesses and combing through all the evidence. Beyond the crime scene tape and the official investigation, there's a community that's now left to deal with the shock, the grief, and the trauma of what happened in such a public and, frankly, cherished space. Pawtucket's mayor, Dawn Grebian, I think he captured the feeling of the entire city with this statement. It's just a feeling of profound sadness for a community that lost its sense of safety in one of the very places it comes together to celebrate. But in the face of that heartbreak, the community's institutions really did step up right away. Schools quickly made sure all the students involved were accounted for. Counseling and support services were made available for anyone affected. And the hockey programs, they focused on the well-being of their young players, showing those first steps of a community starting to rally together. And that really leads us to the final and most crucial question. The investigation, it will eventually end, but the emotional wounds, those are going to remain. When violence shatters the safety of a place that's meant for joy and community, how does a city, a family, a team, how do they even begin to heal? That's the question Pawtucket is now forced to answer.